You ever sit somewhere for so long you start to wonder if you're even there, or if you just faded into the furniture? That was me, Danielle Milan, heels pinching my toes, portfolio in my lap, sitting in the Westbridge Corporate Plaza lobby while everyone else swept past like I was invisible. I'd rehearsed for this interview with Craig Ellison for weeks, you know? Practiced every answer, researched every detail, dressed sharp, ready for the shot that could change everything. But instead, I was just sitting, breathing lemon cleaner and cologne, trying to look important while the clock stretched each second a little thinner. Let me back up a sec. I did everything by the book, arrived early, checked in with the receptionist, polite and all smiles. "He'll be right with you," she said, then went back to tapping on her keyboard, barely looking up. 5 minutes became 10, then 15. Still, I stayed calm, scrolling through my notes, fighting off those nervous butterflies. I kept telling myself, stay cool, you've earned this. Don't let them see you sweat. But 30 minutes later, I went back to the desk, gently asking for an update. Same reply, same tight little smile. So I sat down again, determined to play it professional, though each minute dragged harder than the last. Then I started noticing things. Guys in suits strolled in, laughing about golf, didn't even have to say their names before being ushered straight inside, coffee in hand. Two more men got the handshake, the grin, the personal escort, while I sat, quietly ignored. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but you know what I mean? The ache in my back, the weight in my chest, it all started piling up. It wasn't quite anger yet, just this slow-burning sense that something was off. An hour passed. I fidgeted, adjusted my blazer for the third time, tried to look busy so I wouldn't look desperate. Nobody noticed. I watched the janitor push his cart by gray hair, old cap. He looked at me, gave a little nod. Just two people used to waiting for other folks to notice them, I guess. It was the only honest moment in that lobby all morning. At some point, Avery Lindum, the VP of Operations, swept through in a navy suit. The receptionist leapt to attention, offered her water, coffee, anything. Avery waved her off, disappeared into the elevator. That stung a bit. Then the clock rolled past 11:30. I stood up, made my way to the desk again, voice even, asking if maybe I should just reschedule, since it had been over an hour. The receptionist's eyes flashed surprise, as if she'd forgotten I was still there. "Oh, he's just finishing up a call," she said, as if reading from a script. I nodded, more to myself than to her, and went back to my chair. That's when the shame crept in, unwanted, heavy, sticking in my throat like something I couldn't swallow. 2 hours. That's how long I waited, while life rolled on for everyone else. The receptionist giggled with the delivery guy. Two men in sports jackets toasted their coffees. Avery's heels clicked somewhere far away. I sat, invisible. Would they have made a white man wait like this? Would Craig have left anyone else sitting in that lobby without a word? I wanted to believe I was being too sensitive. But sometimes the truth is loud in its own quiet way. I thought of my mom, her words still ringing from my childhood in Little Rock. You've got to be twice as good, baby girl, just to get half as far. I used to think that was just talk, you know? But sitting there, hands tied on my portfolio, those words weighed heavier than ever. Finally, movement. Craig Ellison himself, tall and thin, stepped out of the back, laughing with another manager, clipboard under his arm. His eyes swept the lobby, didn't even pause on me, and he vanished through another door, still laughing, still talking. I leaned back, that hollow feeling spreading through my chest. Not quite anger, not even surprise, just deep, tired disappointment. I almost left. Thought about just picking up my stuff and walking out, holding tight to whatever pride I had left. But I stayed, not because I needed their validation, but because I knew I deserved better. I'd worked too hard for this. And somewhere inside, that stubborn ember was still burning. Then, out of nowhere, the doors opened and everything changed. Sharp shoes echoed across the marble, 5 people, all talking low and moving with that easy confidence of folks who run the show. I recognized 2 instantly: Martin Beasley, the CEO, and Sandra Whitlock, Senior Finance Director. My heart stuttered. Before I could stand, Sandra spotted me, beamed, and called out my name across the lobby. "Danielle Milan. I didn't know you were coming in today." Just like that, the world shifted. Heads turned. Suddenly, everyone, including Craig, was looking right at me. I stood, gathered my things, walked toward them with steps that finally felt strong. Martin shook my hand, warm and genuine. It's good to see you again, Danielle. Your work at the summit last week? Outstanding. I thanked him, trying to keep my hand steady. Craig, red-faced and suddenly very small, hurried over, babbling apologies. So sorry for the wait. A situation came up. No excuse. I kept my face polite, but didn't let him off the hook. 2 hours is a long time for a situation, Mr. Ellison. Sandra and Martin exchanged a glance, eyebrows raised. Craig fumbled through another apology, but no one was listening to him anymore. Sandra slipped her hand under my elbow. If you have time, come up to the executive conference room with us. We'd love your input on a few projects. I agreed, calm and collected. Craig offered to carry my things, offered coffee, but I turned away gently, following Sandra and Martin. For the first time all morning, I let myself smile, a small, private victory. In the executive conference room, everything was different. The air felt lighter, the conversation real. They pulled out project plans, budgets, and asked for my thoughts, not out of politeness, but because they genuinely wanted my input. Across the hall, through the glass, I saw Craig in his office, sneaking glances, pretending to be busy. Our eyes met once. I didn't look away, didn't smirk, didn't frown, just calm, steady, unbothered. The meeting ended with Martin sliding a folder across the table. We're building a new leadership program, Danielle. After seeing your work, we want you on the team. It was more than an invitation. It was a seat at the table, the very one I'd been fighting to reach. Sandra leaned in, voice low. If you ever have any issues with how you're treated here, come straight to me, no middlemen. I gave her a real smile, promised I would. The rest? Well, word travels fast in offices. That same week, I got the official offer. Leadership track, real pay, real influence. Craig Ellison? Quietly shown the door. Too many situations, too many women, especially women of color, left waiting and wondering if they'd ever be seen. His name disappeared from his office by Friday. I didn't celebrate or gloat. I just kept going, step by steady step, like always. The first big meeting I led, every department head, new hire, and senior manager sat around that long table. I started simple. Good ideas don't care where they come from, and neither should we. The room leaned in. They listened, not because they had to, but because I'd finally been given the space to lead. You know, this was never about revenge or ego. It was about keeping the promise I made to myself, sitting in that lobby, ignored for hours. I won't shrink to fit into spaces I was meant to change. For every young woman coming after me, especially those who look like me, I want the wait to be shorter, the door to open wider. So if this story strikes a chord, don't just nod and move on, share it. Ask the hard questions. Because sometimes, all it takes is one person being seen for the system to change for everyone. What do you think? Ever been in Danielle's shoes or Craig's? Where does respect really begin? Let's talk about it.